Okie dokie. Well, and now we're like really started. All right, everybody, welcome to the Data Center News Show, and where we talk about all cool things. The only cool things that get talked about are on this show. I'm just saying, it's got to be with us, and we're the cool kids. So, we're going to talk a little bit about data centers today because that's kind of, we like to talk about since it's the Data Center News Show. So, there you go. Welcome to my guests. I'll let them introduce themselves. Go ahead, Mr. Howie.
Hey guys, Howard Berry. Thanks, Amy. Avison Young. I run the National Data Center platform at Avison Young and a team of data center professionals who are becoming better brokers every day. Thank you.
Thank goodness, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's right. Just say that you just said that out loud live on television. Just saying.
I love them all. I love them all. They're amazing. Okay.
And Curtis.
Hey, thanks for having me back, Amy. Curtis Friesen, head of North America for the International Data Center Authority.
Very cool. And tell everybody what the International Data Center Authority is.
Sure. We do training and certifications for data center operators. We also do facility audits and assessments and certifications. And we do a lot of government consulting as well in the development of digital economies and digital transformation.
Very cool. That's awesome. Well, we'll need you. You weren't here last week when we were talking about the data center technician shortage. That was kind of interesting.
Yeah, we're working real hard on that.
Yeah, I know, right? It should be. I'm like, hurry up. What are you waiting on? No, I'm just kidding.
Well, it's not just us. There's a lot of organizations like Nomad Futurist, for example, that is trying to get ahead of this by introducing the industry to younger students, like of high school age, because
right.
As we all kind of understand, none of us really got into this industry intentionally, right? Like when I first started working for the 451 group 15 years ago, I didn't know squat about data center. I didn't even know what a data center was. And most people don't. They just think, oh, it's in the cloud. We're going to put our stuff in the cloud. And they literally think that the data is just floating around.
It does. It goes up in the sky.
Aimlessly through the sky. And so if we can't, introduce these opportunities and these, career opportunities to younger people, then we're going to continue to have a shortage of skilled labor. So
yeah,
a lot of organizations are really working hard to just bring awareness to these the future.
For sure. I mean, I think we were talking to Sean Farney from JLL was on last week, and he's got like 1,000 data center technicians or something crazy. Like they have a big services group, and we were talking about how QTS is basically trying to they have this huge training platform just to just trying to get more people in the industry. I don't think anybody falls into the data center industry or anybody falls into even the real estate industry. There's no training out there to be a real estate person, right? Mm-hmm. There's no training out there to go. Anybody who comes into commercial real estate kind of falls into it, right? And so it's definitely interesting and definitely needed. The other job they were talking about, there was an article last week saying there's not enough electricians. So we're going to have to go power all these buildings. I was like, Howie's going to have to go become an electrician again. Or clone yourself, Howie. We need 10 of you to go out there and start doing electrical work. Because apparently we don't have enough electricians either. So data center technicians and electricians, not enough.
Maybe we should have Mike Rowe do some kind of episode.
Yes.
On his show.
Get him on the show.
Dude, we should. Yes, we should. I know. I don't know how dirty that job is, but maybe. I don't know. It's not very dirty.
No, it's actually kind of counterintuitive because they should be very, very clean, and these facilities need to be spotless.
Yeah.
Let me just add though, quick shout out to TJ Chacon with Stack Infrastructure. He's developed a brilliant course at, I think, Nova Community College, and the main problem that they have right now is these students are getting jobs too soon. because they're not even like finishing the program yet,
Yeah.
because they're already getting job offers, and so they're having a retention issue in that sense. But hey, at least it's working for us.
At least they're getting something, right? Yeah, no, for sure.
Did they all go work for Doge? They're like,
well, yeah, they did a few months ago, and now they're back in the job market.
They're back to school.
For sure. No one knows what's going on there. All right, let's talk about some of the articles that I found and the mixed bag of market news, right? So we had Microsoft pull back on some of their leases. Apple finally got into the game. I don't know what they've been waiting on, but apparently Apple's like, well, it's now really real. We've arrived. Apple's arrived into the AI data center market. But then Vertiv, who I'll, unofficial plug, I'm now a Vertiv partner. My company's a Vertiv partner, but they've gotten some like decreased orders. So it's like a mixed bag out there. What's happening in the market? It just seems like the data center market was on fire. And now we're getting these like mixed signals. Is something happening? Is the market kind of repositioning itself? I mean, what the hell's going on, y'all?
Nothing has changed.
This Vertiv stuff kind of sounds like, clever CFO, CRO speak, where they'll say, like, instead of our sales were down, they'll say, oh, it was, a lack of demand, right? It's like, no, you just maybe you just missed a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you need more people, or I don't know. It just seems like there's a lot more to it than
why would Microsoft
just slowing, and I don't buy that.
Yeah. Why would Microsoft renege on leases? Like, is it because it was what they were leasing was not appropriate for what they're trying to do? Or I don't understand.
They're going to pre-lease. Everybody does it. Google does it. Meta, everybody does it. And they're going to go out and allocate or take up space wherever they can get it. And then if they don't need it, they'll drop it.
Oh, so this is normal par for course.
It's totally
it's just a hedge.
Oh,
they're just hedging just in case then, Howie?
Did we lose him?
Howie? So you're saying that it's kind of just a hedge play where they'll have a potential lease in place, and then they'll just drop it if they didn't really need it after all, or pivot to a different region.
Yeah. Sorry, I froze.
Yeah. Okay. All right then. All right.
Technology froze. It's everybody's doing it. I've seen Google drop projects in Phoenix. They might go after some new development and say, hey, we can see we're going to need in a certain region a cloud deployment, and then they because they're waiting for their project to get developed. And this happens all the time.
Oh, all right. Well, then it's not really news. It's fake news. It's fake data center news.
It's spin it the way you want it, right? It's like the China thing we'll talk about, but it's like, how do we know what China's built and has and wants to deploy? Plus, they can't get NVIDIA's GPUs.
Yeah.
And how can they expand? How can they expand the way the U.S. is expanding with AI?
Yeah, I mean, okay, we'll segue into there. So China went. It's fine. I mean, China went. So I was reading that article, and it was really interesting. So China went and built a bunch of AI data centers, and all the new ones that they built, there's 80% vacancy. And so is it they can't get the GPUs, or is it DeepSeek? What the article is saying was like just DeepSeek it's basically totally disrupted what the data centers are doing. So it was MIT, so you think they might know what they're talking about, but it was interesting. For that.
What stood out most to me from that article that you're referencing, Amy, is how some of these projects were really backed by the city official that was just looking for a promotion, right? Mm-hmm. Which, so maybe they are sitting on a surplus of compute, but I wouldn't say that's a problem. I mean, it's a problem for the United States that China is ahead of us again on something like this, right? I think it's better than the other way around to not have enough.
But I think if it, Curtis, like it's all the cities that were developed in China, right? And maybe that aren't even occupied, and they overbuilt, and maybe the developers made a bunch of money. It's another way for China. We don't know really what's going on inside China to determine, hey, this is what is really happening. But I could see a scenario where they go, look, this is another avenue to make a lot of money. You go build data centers, and then maybe they get filled, maybe they don't.
Yeah, a lot of speculative, I guess, building. I mean, but I guess most people do speculative building here, right? You're going to build a data center, or are you not? You're going to get at least before you push dirt? Yes? Oh, okay.
Yes. No, I saw that other article on speculative, or this is a bubble.
Yeah.
No. Any data center that's being developed, once the power is been allocated to the site and they have a will serve letter, you're going to go get a tenant to take this power, and they'll build it for the tenant. So speculative building is very rare.
Yeah, the problem that colo salespeople are having right now, and why they can't make enough money or as much as they used to, is because they don't have anything to sell.
Right.
They don't have the inventory.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well, real estate
are the ones that are getting, you know, the residuals off of their massive hyperscale contracts that they secured 5, 6, 7 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But it's, you know, it's pretty tough to be selling colo right now because there's not a lot of white space. Yeah.
The other thing from that article about China was they were talking about how the models are learning differently. So the latency is like a huge deal. So you can't stick a data center out in the middle of Timbuktu, because the way the large language models are learning now, they don't want to wait around for answers or whatever it might be. So latency becomes king, right? And so if you have a really short latency, I don't know if that's true here in the US, but that was another thing that was kind of interesting. So they had all their data centers kind of out where it was cheaper land, cheaper power, and stuck them way out there. And a lot of them were not close enough. They weren't edge, right? They weren't close enough to the main cities or anything. So that was another reason, I think.
We build a lot of our data centers in the middle of nowhere for cheaper power. LLMs are deployed in rural areas, and it's not a latency problem yet. But again, China could have the problem that they don't have intercity data center connections that could speed up that connectivity.
Yeah. So where it bounces from one to the other and does that thing. So maybe
I always think of it like, I always explain it to people like it's like that when we were kids, the Hot Wheels car set, like you had the car wash to shot the car through faster. The edge compute was that car wash that shoots your signal through faster, right? Speeds everything up.
I like that comparison. That's helpful.
For those who grew up with Hot Wheels and it was like in Legos and Lincoln Logs.
That's pretty funny. Okay. All right. Well, all right. That works for me. I don't know. All right. So let's talk about, I wanted to talk about the photonic thing. I don't know if y'all know much about that, but inside the data centers, but it was a big topic at GTC. So where they were talking, Jensen Huang came out and brought these cords out, and then it was hilarious. We're watching it from like 5 minutes, detangle cords. And I was like, welcome to my life as a general contractor, man. That's all we did. We just sit there like just untangling cords like our whole lives. It was hilarious. And he's doing that on stage at GTC, which is hilarious. But he was talking about these connectors that go from copper to optic wire, or like photonic wire stuff. And then it goes back to copper. And that's how he plans that they're going to run the cabling inside of these large data centers where they're trying to get, the electrons to move back and forth and whatever, the data transfer back and forth. But it's hilarious. But I didn't know how much of that is prevalent. Is that really prevalent in a lot of the data centers now, or is it mostly copper, or what's happening? Do y'all know?
I don't know much about that. I don't know either.
All right. Even know how
that knows. Maybe they're speeding up the technology, but we're more on the dumb side. We're just getting the power to the site and build it and go. How it works on the inside, is a lot more technical. And I think
there's one person that knows about that stuff. Otherwise, the rest of us are just making it up as we go.
Oh, well, that's good. Well, as long as it sounds good when
There's got to be one. There's got to be.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. No, I know, right? It seems to me for him, it was like this where most of the data centers were going to go there's going to be some sort of, light. It's transferring via photonics, like light. I guess that's what that is. I don't know.
Oh, it's like an optical?
I'm an expert in here.
Fiber optics.
Yeah. And then going from fiber optic to copper to fiber to copper again on each end. I don't know why they have to crimp copper. It's like back in the day when I was at GC and we had to like all this aluminum wiring in buildings and we had to tag, pigtail it with copper, like because it wouldn't meet code. And we went like, why are you pigtailing copper to fiber optic? I don't know why they're doing that. I don't know. It's interesting.
I used to work for a guy who one of his previous jobs was he installed undersea cables. In scuba gear, he was one of the people that would like go. He did a lot of those cable lines in Miami, actually.
Yeah.
Stephen Warren, I'm sure you guys are familiar with Stephen Warren. He's the CTO of Data Center Dynamics. Hi, Stephen.
He watches the show. Of course he does.
He should. I'll send it to him. Stephen he's the smartest guy in the room, and he's also the loudest guy in the room. And he knows it. He's from Queens. I love Stephen Warren. He's had quite a career, and he's a great guy, but super smart guy. But yeah, he once had a job where he installed
fiber undersea cables. That must have been pretty interesting. At least he wasn't undersea welding. I mean, they get paid a lot, apparently, if you're welding under the water. Yeah. Well, it's kind of dangerous. So, yeah, I wouldn't want to do it. But cables are cables. Who knows? Who knows they did? So, all right. So let's talk, before I go to the next topics, Howie, what are the big markets that you're seeing other than the whole United States is a big market for data centers? Is anything new happening in your world?
Everywhere. Every day I'm always surprised when we find another gigawatt site available, right? And it's like, how are we doing this? How does Texas have another gigawatt that we can grab?
I know.
Power? And it's interesting because I just put something out that talked about how data centers are not willing to give up. I call it the umbilical cord tied to transmission. And, we can self-generate power. We're looking for gas, self-generation. Everybody's trying to get on the self-generation bandwagon here. But ultimately, the data center customer doesn't want to be behind the meter self-generation data center. They want a data center that is connected to the grid. And so we find that even when we're looking at sites that have self-generation on them, there better be an equal amount of transmission coming to the site for the customer of the data center operator. And we're doing everywhere except for California and Florida. California has got its issues and it's too expensive. It takes too long to build. Florida's got natural disasters, hurricanes. Nobody wants to go down there. We are getting data centers closer to the Gulf of America, and we're getting there. But and so, Amy, it's literally everywhere still, and even in the existing markets, that we're seeing a lot of expansion. Virginia sites are popping up, but they're waiting for power by 2029, 2030 before they can get power to those sites.
Yeah,
in Virginia in particular.
So I'll tell you an experience I had a couple of days ago, and I feel like I was at a conference and I was hanging out actually waiting for some people that came into Austin because there's like a million conferences in Austin, and I bumped into this guy. We're at the bar, and he's an attorney. And he said, and I told him kind of what I did. And, I helped the data center industry. And he's like, oh, I just listened to this lawyer come on and talk about the data center industry. I'm like, oh, yeah, what did he say? And it was all wrong. Like everything he was saying was wrong. And I was just like, really? And he was like an attorney too. And I was like, I go, no, that's not true. He's like, really? I'm like, no, that's not true. Like, what are they talking about? It was
like what, for example? Do you remember
like
anything specific?
So he was talking about, oh yeah, we can do self-generation on site, and that's great. But you have to wait 5 years to get a gas turbine.
Huh.
And I was like, no. No, you don't need to wait 5 years to get a gas turbine. Now, you might need to wait 5 years to get hooked up to the power grid. That's like realistic, but not 5 years to get a gas turbine. And
maybe 5 years if you get in the wrong line.
Maybe, but I'm like, oh no, it's not going to take you. Call up Jenbacher. They'll send you, like, somebody's going to send you one. Like, seriously, it was interesting. And then just their forecasts on how much power was going to be needed. And I'm like, no. It was interesting. I was just like, I don't like to make people feel like idiots, but I did. I had that moment.
Sure you do.
I had that moment. But all right, let's talk about Texas, because there's 2 articles in there talking about Texas and the cool things that are happening. So Data City. By the way, could they have picked a more hotter place to do it? It's in Laredo. I mean, It's hotter in Hades down there. Like, you're in the desert. Like, and I get Phoenix has data centers too, but even Phoenix is more north on the latitude than Laredo, Texas. But okay. All right.
I do like that song about Laredo, though.
I know.
It's a good song. Yeah. I've never been to Laredo, but after
you've never been to Laredo? Okay.
It always makes me want to go, but I hear it's not as nice as the song makes it.
It's okay. I mean, Laredo's. It doesn't surprise me from a couple of reasons. It is the largest land port in the world. So all the traffic coming from Mexico, all the truck traffic comes in through Laredo. So they have this big, really huge industrial infrastructure there, and I-35 is there. That's where it dead ends, is in Laredo. And so then they can get in from Laredo and then go anywhere in the U.S., right? So they'll start in Laredo. But so some of that,
and Canada, 35 goes all the way up to
they go to Canada. So yeah, so Laredo is the entry into the U.S. So, and it's a huge customs port. So that makes sense. And they have a lot of industrial distribution and all stuff and parks and all that other stuff. So it kind of made sense from that standpoint. And then they had power, but they're going to do renewable power, I guess. There's a lot of vacant dirt out there. It's the desert.
Even in that article, the CEO says that the global data center market is going to be 298 gigawatts by 2030.
3x, yep. 3 times the current demand.
I know, right?
Yeah. So we have that power just laying around. We're going to do that, right?
Yeah.
Also,
I don't know.
Why not just say 300 gigawatt?
Why 298?
298?
Why are we jipping it by 2?
Could you imagine though if we get to 2030 and we're like, oh, 298? Oh.
We hit 290. We actually went 299, Curtis.
he was way off.
He was way. Where? How? What?
I know.
24/7.
I love this. This is like comic relief.
So it combines wind, solar, batteries, and dual fuel gas turbines running on Texas-produced natural gas. That we do have an abundance of.
We have a ton of that. And, you
guys are full of gas.
We are full of gas over here. Tons. We have tons of gas over here. Very bloated. But it's just south of the Permian Basin, right? Laredo is, and it's not that far. So, and I don't know if there's a gas line that runs there, but I would assume so. Like, if you're going to export natural gas in Mexico, there would probably be a natural gas line there, right? So, which made sense. I haven't paid attention to the natural gas lines, but so I'm assuming that's that, right? And so then they can produce all they want.
Initially running on Texas-produced natural gas, then shifting over time to 100% green hydrogen sourced from the company's adjacent Hydrogen City Salt Dome storage facility.
I've seen this before. I've seen articles like this. Anybody that announces it doesn't have it.
Oh,
It happens all the time. It's like, all right, well, if you had something cooking, you wouldn't be yelling it out.
yeah. I mean, well, unless he's trying to lease up, space in his little data city, and he's got to get Microsoft and Meta and everybody else to come down there and lease up stuff.
Come back to what I said before, and it's behind the meter. The customer, and I kept asking. I asked the data center operators all the time why, and they said our customers don't like it. They don't want it. They're not adopting it.
I would assume behind the meter then would be so you're not having to use then diesel generators anymore, right? So if you're doing on-prem, no, they still want the generator.
They can use diesel, hydrogen, or gas as generators. Diesel's going to be less expensive or easier. But behind the meter, again, there's the tether tied to the cord, right? Yeah. If they're not tied to the electrical grid, I'm not seeing it yet.
Yeah.
And behind the meter is like no cord attached to the property wall.
Okay. Yeah. And I think it's
operating
always
totally independent from the grid, and you're selling them power. Even Caruso, who's self-generating, is still tied to the grid.
No, I think everybody's going to be, right? It just depends on what is your backup plan. Is it a microgrid that you have on site, or is it we got 50 generators out there as our backup plan? Don't you think?
I think we need to get to self-generation. I think the data center needs to be the power generation site instead of being dependent on the grid. But again, it's such a slow adoption. We're being forced into it only because they can't find it. But to the point that I said earlier, we are finding gigawatt sites. We are finding power in regions. I just had and I don't know if I mentioned this before, but there was I can't say where, but a utility company for a gigawatt of power delivery is asking for a $2 billion letter of credit from the off-taker.
With a B.
B.
With a B.
They are not taking the risk. They're putting the risk on the off-taker, and they're asking the off-taker to be responsible in case they go away. They'll pay for all the upgrades, or more so, the operation of the income lost from the from the generation.
Interesting. Yeah.
We're seeing that more and more now.
Yeah. So whether it's generated on site or generated by the electric company, it's still natural gas. Like most of the electric refineries in Texas are all natural gas. So that's what I find interesting is, if they're generating it on site, okay, that's awesome. They're just pulling from the same resource that everybody else is, especially the electric companies who already got a beat on it. So I find it interesting on where that's going to go. But, it's going to be something else, right?
Data centers don't want to be don't want to be energy providers or energy companies. They want to be data center operators. So, and somebody needs to generate the power for them and then sell it in a PPA, power purchase agreement. Gotcha. Because it's just another component that they don't want to be responsible for. They want the power to be sold to them so they can sell their services.
Makes sense. So what about this thing up in magically, surprisingly, it's 200 miles west of Dallas, and Abilene happens to be 200 miles west of Dallas, and there's Stargate there, and now these 30 micro nuclear reactors are going to come online.
Yes.
I don't know how they got that approved, man. That's awesome. But yeah. Yep. 30. They needed 30 of them for Stargate. They didn't say it was for Stargate, but if anybody can connect this dot with that dot, it's for Stargate, right? I mean,
way to go, Texas.
I know.
I knew it was coming, and it's coming faster than we thought. This is pretty exciting. Think about the scale. You've got there's 30 microreactors times 20 megawatts per reactor. That's 600 megawatts.
Yep.
Over 200 acres. So that's 3 megawatts per acre.
That's not bad. That's
better than a wind
solar,
turbine.
Better than wind.
Better than a wind turbine. One wind turbine takes probably more like 80 acres.
Yeah, I know.
It produces the same amount of power when it actually spins.
Exactly. No, I know. And
every time I fly in and out of Palm Springs, I just look down. I'm like, I never see those wind turbines even spinning. What are they
Really?
doing out there? No,
Yeah.
they're never spinning. There's like one in the distance. It's like, yeah, never mind.
I tried. To spin.
In the Coachella Valley, and they don't work.
That's crazy town. Did you see? I read that article and then I slept since then. So did you see when they're going to install those? Did it say? Do you remember in that article?
Oh, yeah, I've got it right here.
Okay.
Going in time for 6 to 24 months.
Right.
Oh wow.
Design, okay. No.
Well, that's how long it takes to deploy the
reactors
anyway.
Do they look like little 3 Mile Islands? Are they going to look like these little blobs? I don't even know.
I'm imagining more like kind of a big shipping container.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I imagine like a ski chalet. Haven't you seen? I'm not kidding you. I'm actually being serious about this. Oh gosh,
ski in, ski out.
Yeah, they look like churches.
Get your radio
A-frame. I'm not kidding you. Actually, what's the name of the group that's designed them like that? They look like very nice churches.
Oh, you're a lot more sophisticated imagination.
Oh yeah.
Live in my brain. Curtis, live in my brain. It's I picture amusement parks.
Yeah, that'll be one hell of a
dual purpose nuclear microreactors with a small amusement park attached to it. Let the kids play around.
Yeah,
why not?
Yeah.
Hello.
And then you can ski in and ski out.
And when you come to our park, IDC will give you a data center training.
Exactly.
While you ride building businesses. No, I am. Sam Altman invested in. I can't remember the name of the company that is. They actually did design. Their buildings look nice. They're like these big A-frame buildings that they put the reactors in.
Yeah.
And oh gosh, I apologize. The name will come to me while I'm sitting here. But
there's actually there's a picture in this article you sent, Amy, that shows a prototype of that nuclear reactor module, and it actually kind of looks like an oil drill rig.
Oh, hey, that makes sense because it's going to Abilene, so it's got to blend in.
Yeah.
With everything else out there, If they should make it. If it goes to Sweetwater, then they should make it look like a wind turbine because that's where all the wind turbines are in Sweetwater.
Maybe they'll disguise them as trees, like they do with the 5G cell towers.
They look like.
You think we're not going to notice?
Yeah, exactly. I know. That's crazy town. Well, that's cool. So 30 micronuclear reactors. So
Oklo is the company.
Oklo. Okay.
Yeah.
Oklo. Gotcha. All right. Yeah.
And the buildings look very nice.
For a nuclear reactor, they're awesome.
And a ski chalet. Yes. Either works both ways.
Works both ways. All right. No, that's awesome. All right. Well, the other story was this. Okay. First of all, I never knew about NQTEL. No clue. Did not know that the CIA had a venture arm, but they sure do. And Doge has not killed it yet. So, okay. So there you go. But they invested in Cerabyte or whatever, and they're building these data storage things. I don't know how big they are, drives or whatever, made out of ceramics. And the data can last on there for 5,000 years. Now, first of all, how do they make that prediction? That's what I'm saying. How do they know it's going to last 5,000 years? It's great. It's great. I mean, why 5,000? Why not like 298?
4,998.
Exactly.
Probably
I know.
more like what the actual numbers are going to be.
But
you know, also the company, what was it called? Terabyte.
Yeah.
They've only raised $7.7 million so far.
That's crazy.
I don't think you really can do anything with $7.7 million. You know, I had a coffee meeting this morning at the Four Seasons, and for 2 coffees and 3 fresh squeezed grapefruit juices, it was $70. You cannot do anything with $7 million these days. You definitely cannot prove that you can store data for 5,000 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Notice they actually said Terabyte is developing, not has developed.
Of course. Yeah, I know. Well, you know.
We just need more money. No, if you just give us more money, we totally do it.
We totally will. And it's going to be 6,000 years by the time we're done. So yeah, I know. Well, they convinced somebody. They got somebody to part with their money. So it's something magical about that. So if you have a blade storage, now for me, the length of time it can store it without corrupting, that's groovy and all. But what's the capacity of that? Because I think we have more like a capacity issue than like how long it's going to stay before it goes bad issue, or not? Am I wrong about that?
Yeah, I mean, that's been the common consensus, is that we don't have enough, not that we're not storing it for long enough.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, I mean, did
they just create a problem that we didn't realize we had?
Apparently, and they got money for it. Man, why can't I do that? I've been trying. I don't know. Maybe I just solved too many practical things, and that's like not fancy enough. So let me go create a problem, really super duper problem, and I'll go solve that. That doesn't exist. Let me try that. That'll work. I can do that.
All you need is $7.7 million.
Thanks, Curtis. I'll take it.
Yeah.
All right. My way. I can do that. I can use 6-7 million at the moment. I could use it in the right ways. For sure. Be awesome.
Done.
So if let's talk about compute, and is the data center industry right now, is it, if you're storage versus computing power, which one is it more? Is it like 50-50, or is it more mostly on the compute side, or what's happening in the world of data centers? Do you think?
I don't know how many terabytes of storage we have. I'm sure we could easily find that out, but or the ratio to compute. I would imagine compute is a lot more than storage, but
yeah,
I would imagine, yes, compute is a lot more than storage. Yeah.
But we're catching quickly.
Totally different types of servers, power supply, etc.
Yeah. I think
there could be associated with that, the other article you sent, Amy, about the Alibaba CEO talking about the bubble.
Yeah.
And again, maybe he's referring to more of a bubble in terms of a constrained power supply versus a lack of demand. But that's the only bubble worthy thing I can think of, is that we have a constrained power supply. But like we've realized here, even in this conversation, Howie, we keep finding gigawatt. They're just popping up. Like, oh, look, we found another gigawatt somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Texas.
They are. Literally. It's like, you got 3 gigawatts? Like, where? It's insane.
Yeah, I know.
So, yeah, Alibaba, no.
He doesn't know what he's talking about.
I think last time I was on the show, I outwardly disagreed with the former CEO of Google.
You did.
And now we're like,
Alibaba, what the hell? They don't know.
I'll take Alibaba. You got Google.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I'll trade. Oh, I want to trade you.
You want to trade? Sorry.
That's funny. No, that's too late. So if compute's over is basically overtaking storage or whatever it might be, right? I'm assuming storage is not going to go away. We're going to have storage needs. Like, let's let's be real. But I think a lot of the storage needs were dependent upon the large language models needing all this data in order to learn, right? I think that was the big thing, was about talking about, oh, we have to have all this data to learn on. And therefore we need to store all this data, but it might not be the case with the things that are being built now are everybody's not racing to build a large language model anymore. People are racing to build small language models that are like very specific to industries, like the healthcare industry. We don't need to know about Aristotle's and Plato and everybody else. We just need to know about very specific things for the medical industry, or take your pick, automotive industry, whatever it might be. So people are looking at building these language models on very specific sets of data. And so I don't know if that becomes more prevalent. And if that does, then maybe the storage thing, I don't know. Maybe the storage thing isn't an issue. I don't know.
Well,
maybe you don't need that 5,000 years. Huh?
Plus now we know that, we can put storage modules on the moon.
Yeah. See, I'm telling you.
Tip over but isn't that Meta's? Isn't that Meta's model though? Like think of Meta's expansion, right? And I've always had a hard time figuring that out, because I see now they're doing a huge GPU deployment in Louisiana, and but for the most part, how much data does Meta need? And they're expanding, so they do mostly storage, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I've always wondered about that. And I think they've kind of cornered that market. It'd be good to find out.
Yeah. How much storage? I mean, how long are they going to keep? Basically, they become everybody's photo album. I mean, I store some photos on my phone, but for a lot of people,
Amy, it's not just that. It's everywhere your phone goes, every traffic signal, every intersection, every camera, every conversation, this video. The amount of storage that we're creating every single day and everywhere we go, our lives are basically being recorded everywhere.
Yeah.
True.
And when we die, it stays there.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, this show is going to be so famous that, of course, it's going to be on LinkedIn servers.
In the archives, for sure. They're like, look what they were talking about.
It's going to be the next Gundam style video.
It is.
4 billion views.
I like that.
For sure. I don't know. Maybe we should all dance and turn it into a TikTok video. There you go.
No.
Although I'll tell you what, I did read recently that the amount of data that's been generated and stored in the last year is more than all the other years combined.
Right. Every year it compounds.
And so it's what is it called? Moore's law.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Where it grows exponentially, like every 5 years, I believe. So I don't know. In that sense, we do have a storage issue.
Yes, for sure. I mean, yes, for sure. I guess it's interesting on how, but does it? I mean, you don't want to store bad data, right? So like you don't want your AI learning on bad information. You don't want to store information just just storing it.
Well,
right. I think at some point.
I mean, that maybe bad data is subjective.
Yeah, I know. Right? But maybe the AI, I don't know, is there a point where AI knows enough where you don't have to store data for it, that it can just learn?
From my experience in just using ChatGPT, it gets smarter and smarter, and it does that. Even that bad data gets pushed aside. As it learns you, it knows you, it communicates with you. It now gives you what you're looking for, and it gets used to. It's like you're creating a relationship with ChatGPT, and now talks to you, which is crazy if you haven't downloaded that and have a conversation.
Yeah.
But I think it filters that bad data and uses it against good data to determine really what's the right answer.
Yeah.
You guys remember Microsoft Tay from probably almost 10 years ago? It was what was that? Tay.
No.
It was kind of this AI chat bot that that got its information by web crawling on the comment sections of like Twitter and YouTube and Reddit,
cool.
etc.
Yeah.
And so what ended up happening, which is terrible, but actually hilarious, is Tay turned into a really, really terrible racist because it just repeated what it was getting from the internet.
Oh, that's crazy.
And then Microsoft shut it down right away.
It was tweeting bad stuff.
Yeah, like that's that one thing when ChatGPT told this kid to kill himself. So it's early days in ChatGPT. This kid was researching about depression or human depression or whatever it might be, and was just asking ChatGPT like generic questions. And then eventually ChatGPT said, why don't you just off yourself now, basically, or something like that.
In Chat's defense, it was annoyed.
And then they immediately had to go, oh my God, because the kid was like, what the hell? Why can't you? And then it made a little bit of news. That's how I found out. But but they fixed that, obviously. But interesting.
By the way, Curtis, they did shut down Tay after 16 hours of operation. No, turn it off.
It said what?
Yeah.
That's pretty
like,
funny.
well, what did you expect was going to happen?
16 hours. It didn't even make it a full 24. That's awesome. Bad Tay.
Oh, that's too funny. Crazy. Well, what conferences are y'all going to next? Are you going to Data Center World, Curtis?
I will probably be at Data Center World in DC.
Yeah.
Actually, next week I'm speaking at one here in Austin called Infra Day, Texas.
Oh, cool.
It'll be at the convention center.
Awesome.
Yeah, really, focus on Texas infrastructure, but I'm speaking on the one panel that's about data centers.
About data centers. Very cool. That's awesome. Yeah. There's so many now. It's like crazy on just in the world. But I guess Data Center World is like the big dog, right? Besides PTC and GTC and all the others. I
heard DCD New York was very well attended this week.
The what?
The DCD Connect.
Oh, DCD, yeah.
I heard that today. I heard that
Data Center World in Washington's April 14th through 17th.
Yep.
BizNow's got a data center event in Scottsdale, April 1st, coming up next week.
There you go.
I have been to that one before. Adam Knobloch's doing a good job of focusing on the tier 2 stuff.
DCAC is September 16th and 18th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in our backyard.
7x24 in Orlando. Is it Orlando?
Yada. Yeah, I heard Yada. Did you go to Yada?
I don't go to Yada.
Okay. Yada. It's September 8th through 10th in Vegas.
There you go.
Heard that was a really good one.
Yada.
YOTTA.
What?
We should get some sponsorship here from Yada. We just gave them a shout out.
Yeah, I know. What? Spell that again.
YOTTA.
Oh, YOTTA. Yeah.
Exactly. September 8th through the 10th.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, they just launched that one last year.
They did?
I know and that's kind of a co-production of Data Center Dynamics, and they'd been working on that for a really long time. So it was great to see that finally come to fruition.
Interesting. What was that one mostly focused on? Just general topics around data centers, or what's it usually? Did you? Oh, wait, you didn't go last year, or did you go, Howie?
I didn't go. No,
I didn't go either. But from my understanding, it's kind of more of a convergence of data center, telecom,
okay,
CDNs, etc. Like kind of all of the above.
Interesting.
Mega conference.
Very cool. Well, we're coming to the end of our hour. It's almost that time.
All right.
Amazing. So, any parting thoughts, Howie?
I was just thinking while we're talking here, I'd love to add. I have a buddy of mine over. He does fiber, so we can see if we can add him. He's over at Netscope, Raman Saad. It'd be great to hear kind of on the fiber on the network side what that looks like. So I'm going to grab him next week. So tune in. Tune in. I love it. Tune in. Tune in for fiber optic conversations that could bore you to death or excite you.
Exactly. No, that'll be great.
This is really sexy stuff.
I know. Let's keep it sexy. But final thoughts. It's not slowing soon. Whoever says their bubble, get out of the way. There's plenty to happen here in the next 5 years at least. And I think what makes it really difficult in the data center industry is everybody trying to get in and grab a piece of it, right? It's the gold rush. And there's a lot of people that can get hurt in this growth if they're not making the right decisions. So reach out to us over at AY, and we're happy to guide you through your data center development and advise.
Very cool. And Curtis?
Lots of stuff happening in Texas. It's a very exciting time here, and I'm working on some big things that it's too soon to give any details, but Texas is where it's at, and moving to Austin was like the third best decision I ever made.
It's a pretty cool place, except for the summer. It's freaking hot, but that's all right. You find a body of water and hang out at Lake Travis or something for sure.
What about Facilimax, Amy?
Facilimax, doing really cool things. We, where if you're looking at optimizing your data center, you need to call me. But we've got, we're a new startup building digital twin platforms, and we have a pilot now, and which is super cool. And it's with a data center owner here in Austin, and we're going to be working on that for the next couple of months. And good things are happening. So we're a Vertiv partner now, so we can obviously integrate with their equipment, which is super cool. And cool things happening over here at Facilimax. It's awesome sauce. Yeah. So it's very cool. Well, y'all, see you next week. So we're apparently going to talk fiber optics next week, and we'll have probably Sean Farney from JLL back and this crew here. Some other people. Hopefully we'll get Lindsay from CleanArc to come on next week, which would be super awesome. And we could talk to a data center owner. But just more data center news every week. This is where you find us, right here. So thanks y'all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
See ya.